What challenges in global trade patterns have you seen over the past 10 years, and where are we headed in the next 10 years? Maybe you can cater your remarks to Reno specifically.
Thank you. Just a little bit about the port. We do also operate an airport. So my team and division is specific to the seaport. We are responsible for the business development and the marketing of the port, both domestically and internationally. And that really covers a broad array of stakeholders, from ocean carriers to our tenants, the actual marine terminal operators, beneficial cargo owners, the importers, the exporters, including other government agencies and other ports in areas where we can collaborate. So that's basically a little bit of what I do. And in fact, I was enjoying listening to the comments, particularly from Russ. Actually, our analysis is very similar to how the market has shifted. I'll just focus at the last 10 years. But however, we've kind of benefited from some of those fundamental shifts. What we saw I would say, starting in 2000 was the beginnings of this outsourcing, particularly to Asia, really start to pick up. And it just so happened that there was a major labor disruption. I believe many of you here are aware of that. And the timing of it was very interesting because it created, soon thereafter, there was this huge shift in imports from Asia. I mean, double-digit growth. We had serious congestion issues on the West Coast. And the Port of Oakland itself spent about $1 billion in infrastructure to build new marine container terminals. And we had where we had traditionally grown about aggregately 4 to 5% a year in container volumes, we were now expecting and projecting 10, 15% growth. We saw LA Long Beach getting filled up, and then that cargo would cascade into Oakland, and then that would, of course, benefit areas such as Reno and Sparks as well as a distribution center. Well, that didn't really come to fruition quite as we had imagined. Frankly, in 2005 and 6, the Port of Los Angeles and Long Beach got their act together, implemented some very critical programs, Pier Pass, and other things that address a lot of the congestion issues. So we didn't see the cargo come here as much as that we had hoped. Then, starting in 2007, obviously there was this plateau, not only in our economy, but in the number of imports. And exports for that. Well, at that time, exports were still growing very healthy, particularly because a lot of agricultural products from the Midwest were leaving bulk and going into containers because bulk shipping rates were so high. But since 2007, we've seen a decline. And I will say, just like Alan had mentioned, we finished 2009 8% down, which we claim is a victory. It was really the best of the lows, right? So many other ports experienced over 20% declines. Our buffer, or saving grace, so to speak, was really the exports out of the Central Valley. With the weaker dollar, we actually had an increase of exports 6% last year. And so we've now shifted a lot of our resources into promoting the export market going forward in alignment with Obama's pledge as well. So it's going to be a team effort. So that's just kind of, I'll just make one comment because the question was about changing patterns. We did see a huge shift of cargo leave the West Coast and go to the East Coast during this time. And again, it was about diversifying the supply chain. It made a lot of the beneficial cargo owners very nervous about the labor disruption. And so today, we have lost about 5 to 7% market share to the East Coast, and we don't think that's coming back. Frankly, that's business or cargo that should have been going there in the first place. Their infrastructure has caught up and now surpassed us in many cases. So the next battleground is really for the Midwest cargo to hold what we have there. And we're working with our rail partners here to make sure that remains coming through the West Coast.
Lawrence, will a corporation now choose to water bridge through the canal to the East Coast rather than land bridge? This will go over to the rail question too, but do you find that shipping now is moving to a less expensive alternative than the land bridge across?
Absolutely, and there's no question the numbers prove that. It was just in the past, it was still economically viable to ship it in land bridge, and it's still always going to be a much faster transit time. But I think this labor issue really was the impetus for cargo owners to really say, look, we need to diversify our supply chains. The carriers, the ocean carriers stepped up, they deployed the services, they got the costs down. So yeah, and it's again, it's here to stay, and it is cost effective. You have the Panama Canal also widening as well in 2014. That'll push allow larger ships, drive prices down. However, I will say again, the eastern seaboard, the population centers there are much greater than here. That is arguably the most efficient way to get the goods there. The question is, do you reverse IPI it back into the Midwest? And that's kind of where we're drawing the line.
Are your unions much less apt to be difficult in the future, or do they feel like they've really been able to hurt the port and therefore they may be more vocal?
You know, actually, there's a very interesting development. We've just this past year, we formed the U.S. West Coast Collaboration, which is the top 6 Western container ports, Seattle, Tacoma, Portland, Oakland, L.A., Long Beach. Our 2 rail partners, the UP, the BNSF, but we knew that the component missing was the labor. And just recently, both the ILWU and the PMA have shown their support for this collaboration. They understand that our interests are aligned, especially with new ports up in Canada, Prince Rupert, down in Mexico on the East Coast. The area where it gets a little gray is that the ILWU also has partnerships in Canada, Mexico, and the East Coast. So it's a delicate line that they have to walk.
Okay.